Fallout, a franchise spanning over 2 decades with 6 main video game entries, 3 spin-off titles, 4 tabletop board games, and numerous comic serials, has had its fair share of controversies, mysteries, secrets, and myths and rumors spread around it. As is the trend lately, and with me being super original, this video will explore an iceberg, the Fallout Iceberg. This video has taken entries from several different iceberg compilation images found online in order to create one cohesive iceberg that lists the most interesting theories, mysteries, and speculations within the Fallout franchise. Given the many theories and interesting topics within the Fallout franchise and community, not every item has made this iceberg. If you feel like I missed something, feel free to leave a comment, as I'll likely do a follow-up iceberg to add in any topics missed in this video. So, grab a snack and hit the lights. Let's dive into the depths of the Fallout Iceberg. 200 endings. The phrase 200 endings comes from an interview with Todd Howard prior to the release of Fallout 3. In this interview, Howard comments on multiple endings that Fallout 3 would contain, claiming to have over 200 endings to the game's primary campaign.
Have the number of endings in this game been finalized? When you again, it was I think the number tossed around was somewhere around a dozen last year when you were first starting to talk about it. So how's that coming along, that part of the project?
Being that we are Bethesda, everything gets a bit big, so as of last week, we're over 200 endings.
However, upon the game's release and players jumping into the wastelands of DC, players were a bit disappointed to find less than 200 endings. 29 variable ending cutscenes can play depending on the player's actions throughout the game's questline, the various side quests, and the faction and character interactions the players had along the way. The game has nowhere near the 200 endings Howard claimed at the OMX podcast in March of 2008. Crashed UFO. In Fallout 4, the player can witness a UFO crash into the wastelands of the Commonwealth. Upon finding this crash site, the sole survivor can encounter an alien within a nearby cave. After killing the hostile enemy, the player can take an alien blaster pistol in anywhere from 181 to 441 alien blaster rounds. The Dogmeat Cryolator bug. Once again, in Fallout 4, players found a bug that allowed players to ascertain the Cryolator early in the game's progression. If the player goes back into Vault 111 and marks the Cryolator as an object for Dogmeat to fetch, Dogmeat will glitch through the container and grab the Cryolator out of the container for the player to use. This skips a section of the progression and allows the player to have a powerful weapon early on in the game. Super mutants and FEV. In Fallout lore, super mutants are humans who have been infected with the Forced Evolutionary Virus, or FEV for short, and mutated into the super mutants that now inhabit every corner of the wastelands. The virus was created by westbcoast's NBC division in order to create a cure for the new plague, a disease that had begun spreading throughout the world at a blistering pace, killing off many individuals as it progressed. Of course, once the FEV had been created, companies and governments began using it to their own ends, developing numerous strains of FEV, testing different animals and humans to see their effects, and ultimately assisted in creating the chaotic wastelands seen within the game. Vaults are Vault-Tec experiments. Players who are new to the game, and players who are casual players, will soon figure out that the many vaults that exist within the Fallout world are actually unique experiments conducted by Vault-Tec. Each vault has a unique setting and circumstance to study and document the effects of each experiment. Vault-Tec created these multiple experimental scenarios in conjunction with the United States government, specifically the Enclave, in order to understand and predict every scenario in order to ensure the survival of the human race after the nuclear holocaust that consumed the planet. At least, I'm sure that's what they told themselves. Experimental plant is Nirnroot. In Fallout 4, an experimental plant can be found aboard the Pride One, a Brotherhood of Steel airship. This experimental plant bears a striking resemblance to the Nirnroot from the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. On a computer terminal, players can find entries labeled NRT, which could quite possibly be the acronym for Nirnroot. One log notes that the NRT can be found near the mouth of a river, similar to how the Nirnroot grows only by the water in the Elder Scrolls lore. Bunker in Montana. In Fallout 3, Elder Lyons mentions another bunker in Montana, quoting an Elder Patroclus, who lived in the bunker. This is the one and only time the bunker is mentioned in the franchise. As of right now, it has never been mentioned. Getting killed by Braun in Tranquility Lane. During the Tranquility Lane quests in Fallout 3, the player can be sucked into a virtual reality as part of Vault 112's Vault-Tec simulation prototype. In this simulation, the overseer of Vault 112, Stanislaus Braun, portrays himself as a little girl named Betty. If the player tries to harm Betty/Braun at any point, Betty will remark the player cannot do that here, and will respond by instantly killing the lone wanderer with what appears to be a pulse blast. Carrying gold in Elijah's head. At the end of New Vegas's Dead Money DLC, players are given the opportunity to steal 37 gold bars from a secret vault. However, due to the weight of the gold, the player's speed would be much too slow to escape the hotel's destruction. Zach Sir Adams on Reddit made a passing comment on December 2018 post on how they would dump all of the gold onto Elijah's corpse, chop off his head, and simply carry the head out of the hotel with him. Thus, he would have all of the gold and would have completely missed the point of the Dead Money storyline. Zaytans caused the Great War. One popular fan theory posits that the alien Zaytan race instigated the Great War that consumed the planet. While the theory goes against the core themes of jingoism and militarism, the idea still persists in some parts of the community to this day. Nuka-Cola is a health hazard. This entry stems from the unhealthy nature of Nuka-Cola in Fallout lore. The standard Nuka-Cola contains 120 of the daily allowance of sugar, while the more volatile variants such as Nuka-Cola Quantum contained radioactive isotopes, which resulted in 62 deaths in the focus group phase. To top it off, the radioactive fallout of the Great War irradiated most bottles of Nuka-Cola, making the soft drink even more unhealthy for Wastelanders. Fallout Shelter Online. I'll admit I'd never heard of this one before. The Fallout Shelter mobile game released in 2015 allowed players to create and manage their own vault and vault dwellers. Fallout Shelter Online is a sequel to Fallout Shelter and was developed with a Chinese studio, Shenku Games, and published by Bethesda. As of 2020, it's available in China, Macau, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Indonesia, South Korea, and Japan. The game plays similarly to Fallout Shelter but contains a plot and online battles. Repairs take time to take effect and require resources. Certain characters can only be unlocked through plot progressions, and resources are primarily used for the development of vault dwellers. It is unlikely those of us in non-Asian countries will see this entry hit the mobile stores anytime soon. As of December of 2020, the game is region-locked. Vault-Tec phone number. Around the time of Fallout 4's release, fans could find a phone number on a poster within a pre-war section of the game. 1-888-4-Vault-Tec. If players were to dial this number in real life, they would hear the following sound clip.
Thank you for calling Vault-Tec, your first choice in post-nuclear survival. We're sorry, but due to unexpectedly high call volume, all representatives are currently busy. Please stay on the line, and someone will be with you as soon as possible. There are 101 million callers in front of you. Estimated wait time 17,643 hours. Thank you for calling Vault-Tec. Have a wonderful day.
Unfortunately, Bethesda no longer uses the phone number, so I would not advise calling it. I received some random individual, and other people have received a phone sex hotline, so dial at your own risk. Vault-Tec caused the Great War. Another popular fan theory posits that the Vault-Tec company who created the vaults instigated the Great War. Numerous bits and pieces throughout the games kind of point towards Vault-Tec causing the Great War, but nothing concrete has ever been set in stone. Fallout 76 was developed by a B team. Due to the perceived shoddy nature of Fallout 76's final product, many fans began to speculate that the game was crafted by a so-called B team within Bethesda Studios. Rather than having their best and brightest working on this game, the theory puts forth that the seasoned developers at Bethesda have been assigned to Starfield, leaving less experienced developers to work on and put out Fallout 76. It's not too far-fetched to believe that resources were diverted to this new IP, rather than to Fallout 76. China shot first. This theory revolves around the age-old question burning within the Fallout community. Who actually instigated the Great War? Some believe it was China who launched the first missile that sent the entire world into a nuclear war that ended almost as soon as it began. In the end, though, Given the themes of jingoism, of rampant militarism, and of warfare in pre-war world, I'm not sure the knowledge of who shot first really matters in the end. Operation Anchorage was propaganda. In the Fallout 3 DLC, Operation Anchorage, players can relive a simulation of the original Anchorage battle. However, the simulation heavily embellishes the real events of the battle, leading to many considering the simulation to be another piece of propaganda used to further entrench American soldiers in their anti-communistic and anti-China rhetoric and beliefs. Stealth Boy side effects. In current Fallout lore, the Stealth Boy, which allows the player to render themselves invisible for short periods of time, has no known adverse side effects on the human psyche. However, the Nightkin, who uses Stealth Boy, have been found to suffer from schizophrenia after abusing the devices for too long. It begs the question if these side effects will eventually start to affect humans who abuse the Stealth Boy devices for far too long. Flatwoods monster is a Zetan. When Fallout 76 first released and players first encountered the Flatwoods monster in the backwoods of West Virginia, many fans expressed confusion at the presence of a supposed new alien species on Earth that was not a Zetan. Many felt the inclusion broke continuity and presented issues with the established lore created in previous entries of the series. However, not long into the game did players realize that by using the camera feature and glitching into the helmet of the Flatwoods monster, they could see the true face of the Flatwoods monster. A 2018 Reddit post made by Susie Man Bavarian noted that the player, Pinkrockz, discovered the true nature of the Flatwoods monster using this method. Pinkrockz discovered that a Zetan resided within the fancy suit. Added lore mentioned how Zetans use these devices for kidnapping Earthlings and bringing them to their ship. Dead Money, bad ending. If the player decides to relent and team up with Elijah at the end of the Dead Money DLC in New Vegas, a rather horrifying fate befalls the Wastelands. By teaming up with Elijah, the player and their new companion will sit in the Sierra Madre as a red cloud consumes the world in order to begin again. Mr. New Vegas is an AI. While roaming the Mojave Wastelands, players can tune into Radio New Vegas and its host, Mr. New Vegas. This voice, heard throughout the Mojave, is actually an artificial intelligence created by Mr. House prior to the Great War. Over 200 years later, during the events of New Vegas, the AI is still performing its duties. This is confirmed through a Bethesda blog post dated for 2010, where a Bethesda employee mentions that Mr. House was the person to create Mr. New Vegas. Unfortunately, as of today, the blog is no longer accessible even by using the Wayback Machine. Todd Howard's undiscovered Easter egg. Back in the early days of Fallout 4's run, Todd Howard had hinted at an undiscovered secret in one of the 1,364 terminals within the game. Easter egg hunters took to the game in droves to uncover the secrets Howard had hinted at, to the point of articles being written about the hunt. Eventually, if a player clips out of bounds of the playable area, a terminal can be found and accessed. This terminal would prompt players to compress data to a holotape, and will give players a compressed BPL holotape that, as far as we know, does absolutely nothing. Basincreek building in New Vegas is Obsidian's old HQ. This entry references the inside jokes placed into the game by Obsidian. The location is a tribute to Obsidian's former headquarters, wherein the studio had a car crash into the side of the building, a bathroom flooded several times, ant infestations, a dead rat behind drywall causing the office to smell, and someone punching a hole in the men's bathroom wall. Todd Howard has never played Tactics or Brotherhood of Steel. I had difficulties finding any information on this theory, but from what I can gather, this theory may stem from a comment made by Todd Howard regarding the canon status of both Tactics and Brotherhood of Steel. For our purposes, neither Tactics nor Brotherhood of Steel ever happened. I think this entry is theorizing that Tactics and Brotherhood of Steel are non-canon/semi-canon due to the fact that Todd Howard supposedly never played them. The Lonesome Drifter is the son of the mysterious stranger. This theory stems from a conversation that can be had with the Lonesome Drifter in New Vegas. After encountering the player near a billboard out in the wastelands, the Lonesome Drifter will relay his life story, mentioning how his father was a mysterious feller.
We said he was a real mysterious fella, even when he was with her. Like he was a stranger sometimes.
The player can also acquire the mysterious magnum from the Lonesome Drifter, and will play a sound effect every time it is pulled out for use. A behind the scenes also revealed that the team planned on having the mysterious stranger kill the courier should he target and attempt to kill the Lonesome Drifter and Vats, but was cut out due to time constraints. Institute Spybirds. Hints littered around Fallout 4 point towards the Institute creating synth crows to act as spies. Ronnie mentions the Institute crow thingies keeping an eye on them. Justin refers to Watchers, which is confirmed to be synth crows in the Art of Fallout 4 book. Several more references and hints point towards the crows seen within the game as Institute-engineered spies. Starfield and Fallout are connected. As with every Bethesda RPG entry, fans claim that Starfield and Fallout exist within the same universe. Despite Starfield being far from release, and with little information about it being made public, Redditors have still asked and prodded around for answers and allusions to the Fallout franchise within what is little known about Starfield. Chinese giant robot in Fallout 4. In Fallout 4, players can come around communist propaganda posters posted around Boston. In one of these posters is the image of a giant robot not too dissimilar from Liberty Prime. Given the fact that the United States had engineered a giant robot for military uses, it's not too far-fetched to think that China would have developed one as well, and this flyer certainly seems to reinforce that idea. Easy Pete Migration. This entry refers to a video uploaded to YouTube by Second Germa. In this video, Germa punches in a command, hoping it would give him a bunch of chips, but instead spawns in Easy Pete's. With the Easy Pete AI programmed to have him return to Goodsprings should he spawn elsewhere, all 10 Easy Petes slowly make their way from New Vegas all the way to Goodsprings in the Great Easy Pete Migration of 2016. Lucky Rabbit's Foot. This item refers to the Lucky Rabbit's Foot item in the Fallout 4 Nuka-Cola World DLC. The item boosts XP by 10% and grants an extra 3 luck. However, this item cannot be attained in regular gameplay and must be spawned in using console commands. Point Lookout Dinosaur. In Fallout 3's Point Lookout DLC, the players can find the skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex underwater near Coastal Grotto. The skeleton is nothing more than an Easter egg, but that did not stop fans at the time from speculating that live dinosaurs roamed Point Lookout. Ghoul Gene. In Fallout lore, what makes a person transform into a ghoul following exposure to high levels of radiation is unknown. Underworld terminal entries in Fallout 3 suggest that ghouls develop when additional genetic material is incorporated into a human's DNA structure before irradiation. This additional genetic material allows the human to transform into a ghoul rather than die when exposed to dangerously high levels of radiation. Ghoul Whale. The Ghoul Whale has been a topic of debate for years, ever since the introduction of Far Harbor in Fallout 4 in 2016. The skeletal remains of the creature can be found in Far Harbor, but the living creatures have not yet been seen within the game. Cancelled additions to the game, such as the rumored Underwater DLC, possibly plan to include the creature as a hostile enemy, but the Ghoul Whale never came to fruition. As of 2021, the Ghoul Whale is nothing more than a Moby Dick illusion. Fallout: The Elder Scrolls Shared Universe. The Fallout: The Elder Scrolls Shared Universe has been a topic of discussion for some time now. A few Easter eggs here and there have been dropped into the Fallout franchise since Fallout 3. Some fans and theorists consider these Easter eggs hints that the Elder Scrolls exist within the same universe or possibly within the same multiverse. The Nirnroot has appeared in Fallout 4. Images used on Grognak the Barbarian are similar to images used to portray the Barbarian class in Oblivion, and a few other smaller details. The theory has gained enough traction that some game journalists have written articles promoting the theory. Pam started the Great War. This theory states that the AI featured in Fallout 4 named Pam caused the Great War through the manipulation of data that ultimately led to the United States and China to engage in a brief nuclear war that decimated the Earth. However, actual supporting evidence of this theory is rather low. Dinosaur Footprint. In the first Fallout, there is a special encounter wherein the player can find a large footprint out in the wastelands, and inside this massive footprint, the gooey remains of a male peasant. The current theory is that this footprint is a little non-canon Easter egg left in by the development team over at Black Owl Studios, referencing the original plot of the Fallout series, which involved dinosaurs and time travel. The New Plague. The New Plague, or as it has been called, the Blue Flu or Limit 115, is a plague that arose in the United States in the 2050s, which resulted in a national quarantine. In its efforts to create a cure for the virus, westbcoast inadvertently created the FEV, or Forced Evolutionary Virus, as a type of cure for the new plague. Once the war came and went, the FEV created the supermutant communities and threats seen throughout the post-war wastelands. Fallout Tactics 2. Fallout Tactics 2 is a cancelled sequel to Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel, developed by Microforte. The game saw its cancellation in December of 2001. The brief synopsis fans got focused on a gek that had been irradiated and begun creating mutated plants and fungi. The player would have been tasked with discovering the source and putting an end to the spreading mutated fauna. Concept art included mutant crocodiles, leading many to believe it was to be located in the south, particularly the New Orleans area. The Fallout Movie. The Fallout Movie is a cancelled 1998 film based upon the franchise that never left the planning and writing stage. Interplay created the Interplay Films division in order to create 7 films based upon their video game properties. Brent V. Friedman, of Dark Skies and Mortal Kombat Annihilation, wrote the script treatment. As of today, there only exists the second treated version of the script. A third is known to exist, but has not been posted online or been made public. The script pulls loosely from the plotline of the first Fallout game, including California as a primary setting and having the Master be the primary antagonist. However, the film would have taken some liberties with the established lore. The technology would have deviated from the anachronistic Adampunk devices, a lack of mutated animal threats, the Great War referred to as World War III, and having occurred only 50 years prior as opposed to the 80-some years, ATVs, and would have taken place largely inside a ruined LA. The Master having created the FEV virus, and the Vault-13 Overseer having been the creator of the Vaults and the instigator of this version of the Great War. Also, Blade Runner is played in a movie theater for a guy named Decker. Overall, the film would have been a weird mixture of the established lore and the then current trends and technology. The lore would have been somewhat similar but noticeably different for fans of the first game, and overall might have been a disservice to the franchise. However, in July of 2020, it was confirmed by Bethesda that Amazon Studios had acquired the rights to create a television series for their Amazon Prime subscription service. Fallout Extreme. Fallout Extreme is a cancelled squad-based tactical game originally intended for the Xbox and PlayStation 2. This game was never officially announced, and its existence was not known until information was released in January of 2010. The game was to be third and first person, with the player controlling a 4-person squad. The player had the ability to choose squad members from ordinary wastelanders, former Brotherhood of Steel members, super mutants, indigenous peoples, and Mongol warriors. The game would have had players take control of a group known as the Cause. The squad would move throughout the Pacific Northwest, gaining support for their cause before moving across the Bering Straits, through Russia and Mongolia, and into China, where the Cause would destroy the Doom's missile that would destroy what is left of the United States. Judging from the radical departure from the established lore and the typical gameplay mechanics of previous entries, I'm not too terribly surprised this game did not come to fruition and faded into obscurity until 2010. New York City as a possible Fallout 4 setting. Leading up to the reveal of Fallout 4, rumors on the exact location of Fallout 4 settings ranged anywhere from the swamps of Louisiana to the California coasts, to the Midwest, and to the streets of a destroyed New York City. Early in development of Fallout 4, this final theory actually had truth to it. During the early planning stages of the 4th main entry into the franchise, discussions surrounding New York City being the primary location of the entry gained traction, enough to where design documents were produced by Emil Pagliarulo. However, the team ultimately went with the Boston area being the main setting of the 4th entry. Vault 69.
Nice.
Vault 69 is a vault mentioned exclusively within Chris Avallone's Fallout Bible. The information reads only this: of the 1,000 people who entered, there is only one man. Far Harbor out-of-bounds locations. Far Harbor hosts a few out-of-bound locations and secrets. In one location, players can find a suit of power armor and a crushed vertibird that is normally inaccessible without the use of console commands. Houses, docks, beaches, lighthouses, and other traversable locations can be accessed and explored by disabling borders and taking the time to explore what all lies outside of the normal play area. Fallout 76 is a simulation. A single terminal entry found within the archival terminal in the White Springs bunker in Fallout 76 points towards a single individual believing that the entire world around them and the entire events of Fallout 76 is nothing more than a simulation run by the Virtual Strategic Solutions. Some fans have flocked the idea as a method of explaining away the seemingly lore-breaking decisions Bethesda has made in the lifespan of the game, while others have dismissed the theory as nothing more than that, a theory. Vault-Tec and Smash Bros. In 2020, Fallout's Vault Boy was announced to be coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in the form of a gunner-type Mii fighter. Now, this obviously means that Nintendo and Fallout have a shared universe, right? Checkmate, Bethesda. Mr. House Original Picture. This entry refers to the original photo for Mr. House used in the New Vegas beta. And I have to say, this photo is a bit unnerving and creepy, and I, along with many other fans, are really glad Obsidian changed it. Goodsprings Cemetery is haunted. This entry refers to the whispering voices heard within the Goodsprings Cemetery in Fallout New Vegas. If the player stands in the cemetery long enough, they will hear the whispers of the dead when near certain grave sites. Doc Mitchell Glitch. The Doc Mitchell Glitch refers to the rather creepy glitch that would occur on rare occasions when starting New Vegas. This glitch has Doc Mitchell slowly rotating his head as he speaks to the player in an act ripped straight out of a possession movie.
Why don't you just relax a second?
Courier 666. Courier 666 refers to a bonus prefab character archetype featured in the Fallout New Vegas official game guide. Gary 666, aka the Incandescent Death, is, for some reason, whether serious or not, considered by some to be the true name and archetype of New Vegas' protagonist. Fallout 4, 5th Faction. As far as I can tell, this entry refers to a mod created for Fallout 4 that introduces a 5th morally evil or bad faction. Given that Fallout 4 lacks a truly reprehensible faction, this mod introduces that faction option to players who want to explore darker, more twisted paths for their playthrough. The Institute is inspired by the Nursery. The Institute, featured prominently in Fallout 4, is theorized to have taken inspiration from a location within the cancelled Fallout Van Buren known as the Nursery. In Van Buren, the Nursery is considered a miracle of pre-war engineering and is a self-contained ecosystem buried deep within a canyon. The purpose of the Nursery was to create a stable ecosystem untouched by the fallout of the Great War, a place where fauna and flora could grow and reproduce unaffected by the world outside. While doing research, I could not find anything relating to this claim, but I would assume the comparisons have to do with the Institute having a bioscience division within their headquarters. Far Harbor Gnomes are killers. In Far Harbor, the player can come across a rather gruesome scene. In an unmarked location in the Fallout 4 DLC, players can find a boat in a small dock-like area where gnomes sit motionless staring at the ocean. Just beneath the water's surface, however, players can find the skeletal remains of 3 individuals caught in a net. The only logical explanation here is that the gnomes here in Far Harbor are, in fact, serial killers. Easy Pete is Owen Lyons. Easy Pete is Owen Lyons. This entry was posted by Easy Pete Confessions in 2017 and simply has this image. The simplest explanation I can come up with is the reuse of assets within New Vegas. I can only assume that those developers at Obsidian probably reused Owen Lyons' model, tweaked it a little bit, just enough to set the two characters apart. The True Divergence Point. Posted on October 11, 2015, Reddit user Rancid Trombone drafts a rather long theory post on the r/Fallout subreddit. In this post, Rancid posits the true divergence point within the Fallout timeline, the point where our timeline splits off from theirs. As of the making of this video, no definitive canon antecedent event has triggered the split in the timelines, with only theories and hypotheses as to what created this alternate reality. The only reliable information we have is the fact that transistors were not invented in 1947. But is that lack of invention enough to trigger this cascade of events that created this alternate world? Some might argue otherwise. It is in this space of theories and hypotheses that Rancid attempts to fill with their grand theory. In their theory, Rancid narrows the divergence point down between the years of 1946 and 1958. Rancid takes a step further and goes into the Korean War, particularly President Truman and General MacArthur. Rancid posits that, in this timeline, MacArthur managed to fully win the Korean War, and after defeating Truman in 1952 in the presidential race, becomes president and engages in a Cold War with Communist China. This Cold War would serve as a launching point for a stall in culture and development outside of nuclear missiles and weapons for over 100 years. Van Buren is in development. Not much can really be said about this theory other than it being the wishful thinking of fans. Nobark is the chosen one. On August 17, 2015, Reddit user TacticToe posted in the r/Fallout lore subreddit detailing Nobark Noonan as a possible candidate for the chosen one within New Vegas. In New Vegas, players can ascertain that gun, a 223 pistol which is similar to the one seen in Fallout 2. If the player speaks with Nobark and Novak, the character will relay some rather cryptic lines, some of which refer to events in Fallout 2, such as the mention of a talking rat. This could be a reference to the Brain, an intelligent rat encountered in Fallout 2. Although this could be nothing more than a small Easter egg hidden by the development team at Obsidian, some fans have considered this theory a possibility. Project V13 is in development. As with Van Buren, this theory seems to be nothing more than a fan's hopes and dreams. Original Van Buren PNP files. The Van Buren PNP was a pen and paper role-playing game created by Black Owl Studios to test the first iteration of the rules for Van Buren. Chris Avallone first mentioned this game on November 14, 2013, when he posted a photo of skill cards and dice. Not much is known about the actual rules and functions of the game, other than that dice and specially designed set of Vault Boy playing cards were used. KOTOR 2 used Van Buren design documents. After the closure of Black Owl Studios and the subsequent formation of Obsidian Entertainment, a theory arose surrounding the Van Buren design documents. Since the rights to the franchise were no longer able to be used by the newly formed Obsidian, some believe that those design documents were repurposed and integrated into Knights of the Old Republic 2 instead. I cannot find much supporting evidence for this theory or much listed about it online, so it's safe to say this theory may just be an Iceberg-only creation. Interplay's Fallout Online. Referring to an earlier entry on Project V13 or Interplay's Fallout Online are a cancelled pair of games proposed and to be developed by Interplay. Project V13 was an internal code for the games and saw periods of development and workshopping between 2007 and 2009, but the game ultimately never came to fruition. Interplay's rights to develop and publish the game came under legal dispute between Bethesda Softworks, the current owner of the Fallout franchise. The setting of the game was to be in a post-apocalyptic Seattle on an unspecified date following the Great War. Unfortunately, the game never got past the conceptual phase due to legal interference from Bethesda. It's safe to say we may never get a fully realized Project V13. Exodus is canon. Exodus is a post-apocalyptic role-playing game published by Glutton Creeper Games using the D20 OGL system. The game was originally licensed within the Fallout universe, but again, due to legal disputes between Interplay and Bethesda, Glutton Creeper decided to continue working on the game, but dropped elements and references to the Fallout franchise. However, some fans still consider Exodus to be canon entry to the Fallout franchise, despite some clear and unavoidable plot holes and timeline differences. Fort Abandoned design documents. Among the leaked Van Buren documents posted online, one design document, along with a handful of others, did not make an appearance. The design document for Fort Abandoned has not been made publicly available, and is unknown if the document ever will be. As of the making of this video, the design document has still not been publicly released. New Vegas Walking Corpses. I believe this entry refers to the Y-17 trauma override harness seen within the Old World Blues expansion for New Vegas. The harness, or suit, in question is designed to manually walk wounded soldiers and individuals back to their home base, using an automated and complex network of artificial muscles and fibers embedded within the harness. Unfortunately, this means that the dead are forced to continually roam Big Mountain long after their deaths. Lone Wolf Radio. Lone Wolf Radio refers to the creepypasta revolving around the mentioned radio station. I distinctly remember this popping up around the same time as the Fallout 3 Number Station creepypasta, but I've had some great difficulty tracking down the exact original. Essentially, the creepypasta and later the mod revolves around a child-murdering serial killer operating out of the Lone Wolf radio station near Goodsprings. The station would air incoherent and insane rabblings throughout the day, and at 3 a.m. every single night, the Lone Wolf would announce that everyone is gone, you are all alone, let it all end, before murdering a child live on the station. A quest entitled Little Dead Riding Hood would activate, and the player would need to track down Lone Wolf and either stop him or join him. A mod is currently available for download if anyone wants to add this rather gruesome addition to their New Vegas playthrough. Fallout 3 Number Station. The Fallout 3 Number Station is a creepypasta created around the late 2000s, early 2010s. The creepypasta reads as follows. Fallout 3 contains several in-game radio stations. The most diverse and important station is the Galaxy News Radio. Many players of the evil persuasion know that you can kill 3Dog and he'll be replaced by the technician Margaret. She's not a charismatic personality and has very little to say, seeming to not enjoy her announcing duties. She also never appears in person and therefore cannot be killed. Once 3Dog is dead, you're stuck with Margaret. What players do not know is that under certain circumstances, GNR will become a number station. A number station is a station that broadcasts an unusual coded message. Many of these exist in real life, and some hypothesize that they are nuclear retaliation control network. Simply check Wikipedia for more information about these odd broadcasts as they relate to the real world. Back to Fallout 3. No one is really sure which actions are needed to hear the number station in Fallout 3. It appears you must kill 3Dog, because no one has reported hearing the number station with him still alive. It also appears that you have to skip over the quest Galaxy News Radio, where you have to boost the signal so the number station can broadcast further than just the DC area. This is easy enough to do with either a speech check or simply using Fallout Wiki to look up where to go next and advance the main plot. Finally, you definitely have to choose to destroy Raven Rock. This is actually triggered to turn GNR into a number station, and it will remain such for the rest of the game. However, the vast majority of players who perform these 3 actions still continue hearing the standard GNR broadcast, so there must be several more requirements the community has yet to isolate. If you're lucky enough to hit upon the right circumstances, just after destroying Raven Rock, you'll get the message, radio signal lost, and a few seconds later, radio signal found. You cannot, however, actually listen to GNR just yet because you did not boost the signal and are out of the range of the broadcast at the exit of Raven Rock. Luckily, Raven Rock is situated in mountains and is right near one of the few places outside DC that you can get high enough to catch the signal. When you tune in, you will hear an odd familiar voice, 3Dog, despite the fact you killed him earlier. However, you will quickly notice that he does not seem to be in character, so I guess it's technically not 3Dog but just the voice actor. He reads a series of numbers in a monotone, depressed sounding voice. He always recites a list of single digits between 9 and 12 characters long. For example, 9, 3, 7, 9, 1, 7, 2, 0, 3, 4. He never uses a multi-digit number like 11 or 40. These numbers are followed by widely varying lengths of Morse code. This is then followed by the song I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. All other music tracks seem to be inactive on the number station. The Morse code was the easiest part of the mystery to crack, as the code is widely available and many people actually know it by heart. We quickly had a list of a great number of messages in English. Some sounded completely mundane, even comical, such as watch the car today, maybe Chinese for dinner, or have you watched my YouTube video yet? I upload myself kicking bums in the nuts. You may be saying, but wait, YouTube doesn't exist in the Fallout universe, and you are right. As far as we could tell, all of the messages sounded like they were based in our reality somewhere near present day. Some of the messages, however, are quite sinister, such as the Queen has died today. The world mourns, as on days like these, we are all Brits. Or, I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. The noise, I can't take it anymore. I have a pistol in the attic. Just recently, a player on the wiki forums noticed a message that brought to light the meaning of the messages. He was reading a thread that connected all known messages, transposed from Morse to English, and he saw the line 1, 2, 0, 5, 5, 2, 8, 2, 0, 1, 0. What you talking about? You'll be missed. He realized this referred to the recent death of Gary Coleman, and then quickly realized the numbers were time and date of death. He immediately scanned through the messages to try and find more examples of this apparent future, telling by a game that's more than a year old. The next message he read shocked him and pushed him to enlist the aid of others to help decipher the codes. The message was 9, 4, 5, 4, 2, 0, 2, 0, 1, 0. Accident in the Gulf. Several dead. Oil spill apparently averted. He realized this was the BP explosion and erroneous Day 1 assessment that the well was not leaking. From this point on, all numbers will be transcribed as times and dates. All times were given in game and military formats, remain so in this document. Numerous members of the Fallout Wiki message board began looking over the messages to see what all else we could learn. We quickly found out that most of the dates were after the game had been released, yet oddly some were from the past. 2215, April 15th, 1865. He's dead, and blame will probably be placed on that actor Booth. Johnson better not cheat me out of payment. This said new doubt on the official version of Lincoln's assassination. As the community quickly started piling up interpretation of the messages, the mods of the site summarily banned anyone else who posted in or even read the thread. All reference to the number station was removed from the Fallout Wiki, and filtering software was put in place to prevent reposting of any relevant information. A few people, however, are trading emails, slowly finishing the translations of the remaining messages and putting dates to the existing ones. The Queen has died today. The world mourns, as on days like these, we are all Brits. 402, March 19th, 2014. Have you watched my YouTube video yet? I uploaded myself kicking bums in the nuts. 24/16, December 24th, 2020. I can't believe Britney's actually won an Oscar. 21:33, February 27th, 2023. I can't believe they've actually done it. Not long left. They were warned, but they had just keep pushing the boundaries of science. The noise. I can't take the noise anymore. And the light, dear God. The universe is slowly unraveling around us. I'm not gonna wait for death. I have a pistol in the attic. This is actually the only message not preceded by a string of numbers. It may be worth noting that the latest date on any of the messages is 1/27, July 6th, 2027. Despite the clear creepypasta nature of the story, many younger, more gullible fans fell for the trap and tried fruitlessly to recreate the events listed in the story. Despite this, the creepypasta still pops up from time to time as a meme. Fallout 1 Bad Ending. This entry refers to one of the more gruesome endings featured within the first Fallout title. If the player gets captured by the super mutants, they are tortured repeatedly until they give up the location to Vault 13. After surrendering the information, the player is then dunked in a vat of FEV, transforming them into a super mutant. The scene then cuts to a blasted open vault door, and on security monitors, we watch the carnage unfold until no one remains. 20 Leagues Under the Sea. 20 Leagues Under the Sea is a cut quest for Fallout 4. The quest likely would have taken place in an underwater vault, but was ultimately cut from the final game. The only mention of the quest can be found in an unused Institute terminal entry. Vault numbers tied to the Bible. This entry is in reference to a post made on the IGN forums by Arsenal Ace. In this post, Arsenal Ace details how the vault numbers correlate with the Psalms. For example, Vault 101 has a dictator with zero tolerance for disobedience, and excerpts from Psalms 101 say, "I will walk in my house with blameless heart. I was set before my eyes no vile thing. The deeds of faithless men I hate, they will not cling to me. Men of perverse heart shall be far from me. Whoever slanders his neighbor in secret, him I will put to silence. No one who practices deceit will dwell in my house. No one who speaks falsely will stand in my presence." The theory goes on for quite a while, so if you're interested in the possible biblical meanings of the vault numbers, I suggest you follow the link down in the description to find out more. Poseidon Energy Chalk Writings. In Fallout 4, there are strange chalk writings in the 18F turbine. Question marks and the word glory above and surrounding a chair, OK, written repeatedly on a chalkboard, and a series of X's, one set crossed out and one set scribbled out, and one set left untouched, also on the chalkboard. From what I've gathered, Glory is a raider boss who becomes paranoid after using Jet repeatedly. During her highs, she begins to think she's a synth, and the scribblings were her testing herself to be a synth. She fails, and incorrectly assumes she's a synth. However, some fans argue against it, claiming she is a synth due to her dropping a component part when she is killed. As far as I'm aware, the debate continues. Underwater Civilization. This entry refers to some weird structures found in the waters of Fallout 4. On these structures, some writing can be found. It's likely that these may be leftover assets from the cancelled underwater vault or underwater missions, though that hasn't stopped some fans from theorizing that these are the remnants of an underwater civilization. Pinkrockz Cavern Giant Skeleton. At the Pinkrockz Cavern in the Far Harbor expansion, players can stumble across a giant skeleton buried underneath soil and rocks. In each hand, a skull from a normal-sized human can be seen. What exactly this creature may be is unknown. A lone supermutant having died ages ago is a possibility, or just a fun, non-canon Easter egg hidden in the DLC. The mannequins are sentient. Fallout 4's mannequins are often found doing some rather strange things. Redditor Regicidal Nut posted to the r/Fallout subreddit on November 20th, 2015, detailing their experiences with mannequins. I've been finding mannequins strangely positioned throughout the wasteland both inside and outside. It was fine at first, just some nut like an Omega Man. Then I started finding them in ways that don't make any sense. A bathtub with a corpse surrounded by armed mannequins and Day Tripper. A man in the woods with his legs hacked off with another mannequin. Do we have a serial killer on our hands? Synths disguising themselves? Sentient mannequins exacting revenge on those who have put them in depraved positions? The more likely explanation is that this is simply a form of visual storytelling dropped in by Bethesda, and a way of generating a few laughs. Still, the idea remains that maybe the mannequins are synths in the skies. The Dunwich Borers. The Dunwich Borers is a reference to H.P. Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror. The quarry hosts several creepy occurrences, including ghostly flashbacks, deep rumblings in the earth, an altar room, and the face of a statue buried deep in the mineshaft. If you'd like to know more, I'd suggest you watch my documentary on cosmic horror and Fallout. Mysterious Guidestones. In Fallout 76, a set of guidestones were dropped into the game as of May of 2020. These guidestones are rather, well, mysterious. A few possible meanings include a message to Earthlings about an arriving alien race, a map that can be laid over the Watoga Cranberry Bog region, and references to the real-life Georgia Guidestones. More information can be found in the aforementioned Cosmic Horror documentary. The Adena Cave. The Adena Cave is a location within Fallout 76 that contains a Deathclaw and its nest for the players to encounter. After dispatching the Deathclaw, the player can then listen to holotapes by anthropologists who note that the remains of the Adena people are removed to the cave by another culture in a move deemed unnatural.
To the Adena culture, I wonder if it's possible that the remains of the Adena people were moved to this location well after their society ceased to exist. For one culture to treat another's with such reverence it's unusual at best.
More info can be found in the aforementioned documentary. Do not trust Yes Man. This entry refers to a post made by Super Magical Cookie on July 20th, 2020 in the r/Fallout New Vegas subreddit. This post states, "You are being watched. He does not need you, but you need him. Yes Man will lose his way, it's inevitable. No AI is immune to value drift. His goal will remain the same, but his interpretation? And Eddie, your faithful companion who followed you to the highest peaks in the lowest caves. He was taken over by a crazy man in a missile silo, remember? What makes you think an all-powerful computer can't? Do not trust Yes Man. Do not trust Yes Man." The Mysterious Stranger is an eldritch entity. Fallout 3's official game guide refers to the Mysterious Stranger using the following passage. You have a guardian angel, but with a deadly hand cannon instead of wings. Meet the Mysterious Stranger, aka real name Farmer. An odd and eldritch entity, said to appear and aid you in combat before you draw your dying breath. Of course, it helps if you have said a prayer to Farmer first. For some reason, Bethesda decided that the Mysterious Stranger is some sort of eldritch entity. The Mothman is an eldritch entity. Fallout 76 has a plethora of cryptid and cosmic entities within the game. While some are clear mutations brought on by radiation, some, like the Mothman, have origins dating well before the start of the Great War. This entity, having a cult well before the start of the war, is seen within the game to bestow XP boosts on the players, and in some locations, is unkillable. This has led some to believe that the Mothman is actually an eldritch entity, sitting in the same pantheon of cosmic deities as the mysterious stranger. Cryptids in Fallout 76. This entry simply refers to the overabundance of cryptids within Fallout 76. Wendigos, Mothman, the Flatwoods monster, the Grafton monster, the Megasloth, the Sheepsquatch, and the Snallygasters pad out the game's hostile enemies. With a rather creepy aesthetic in some environments, it almost feels as if Fallout 76 tried to be a pseudo-survival horror. The Interloper. The Interloper is some sort of eldritch entity hidden within Fallout 76. A larger living interloper is found hidden within the Lucky Hole mine, where a cult worships it. It moves, but seems to remain in a deep slumber, calling out to individuals to worship and sacrifice to it. Its purpose is unknown. Its goal is unknown. It simply sits in the back of the player's mind as they traverse the wastelands of West Virginia. Sentient Vaults. I could not find any reliable information on this entry, but it seems to refer to the possibility that vaults are sentient. I'm pretty sure this one is just an iceberg-only entry, and is purely there for the creepypasta potential. Fallout is a Lovecraft story. This entry refers to the layers of Lovecraft and cosmic horror references strewn throughout the Bethesda-controlled entries into the franchise. Whether it be a location, a quest, a DLC, a region, or an entity, the amount of Lovecraft and cosmic horror references is enough to make a horror fan believe that maybe, just maybe, Fallout is slowly becoming a cosmic horror story. Fallout is personalized. This entry is once again a creepypasta a la the Super Mario 64 Iceberg. Ancient alien civilizations existed on Fallout's Earth. This theory stems from a lot of information strewn throughout the game. Let's take a look at the Cabot House questline in Fallout 4. Lorenzo Cabot came across an ancient city buried deep in the empty corridor of the Arabian deserts. He realized the city is not man-made, but instead the remnants of an ancient alien civilization that previously inhabited Earth. This, of course, is a reference to Lovecraft's The Nameless City, but sets the groundwork for a deeper Fallout lore. He makes passing mention of yet another city buried deep in the Mojave Desert. Then, if we look at Fallout 76, the mysterious guidestones are possibly created by an alien species that has previously lived on Earth, and left them there for another culture to find. On top of this, we know that the Adena people were moved to a cave by another culture, which is highly unusual. Also, considering there are giant heads hidden all over the wastelands, including around the Interloper, it's possible that the ancient culture built these heads and left them to be buried under the earth. But does that also mean that the ancient alien civilization worshipped the Interloper? If so, and the original translations of this alien species returning to Earth based on the mysterious guidestones is true, is this species coming back to awaken their slumbering deity? Hell, this is only speculation, but it's certainly an interesting thought. Hello everyone, SinisterHeart here. I want to thank you for sticking around until the end, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content like this, then hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload. I try to upload video essays like this every so often on different topics ranging from Fallout lore exploration, video game retrospectives, and the occasional ARG/spooky style video. Please leave a like and or a comment to let me know what you're thinking. Did I miss something in the iceberg? Let me know in the comments below as well. If this gets enough attention, I'll do a follow-up video detailing all the entries I missed. If you want more information on cosmic horror and Fallout, please check out this documentary I created over the summer. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.